So the president speaks from the Oval Office tonight. I'm just not sure why. And good evening. Welcome to State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Tonight's in-studio guest, Carl Waddenston, the only member of the Economic Development Corporation Board to vote against the 38 Studios deal, the Curt Schilling debacle. A lot going on with that case, and we'll talk to Carl about that and a whole lot more. Let's check what our rundown looks like tonight. Russia to the rescue. And that is provocative, isn't it? 36 hours of news cycle time have changed completely the way we're looking at the Syria situation, and the rebels are freaking out about it. Not that they're our friends, a few of them might be, but they're saying, wait. We'll talk about that. The Oval Office address, as I said there at the top, I'm thinking the president would be well served to say, never mind. We'll talk about it. And here locally, at home, the kneecap decision comes down from the State Education Board. A good decision. Tight one, but a good one. And just keep playing the blackjack. It's to our mutual benefit. And we'll break all that down right here. So let's talk about what's happening. We've got this now newfound idea. You know, John Kerry, as we talked about last night, makes this ad hoc commentary about, well, they could clean up their weapons in Syria in a week's time, and they're not going to do it, of course. Oh, well, guess what? Russia jumps on this, and Syria says, you know what, not such a bad idea. Of course, Assad was saying he doesn't have chemical weapons, but that's beside the point. Why would the truth and consistency matter? But Fox brings us this update, and it is changing every minute.
All of us are hopeful that this option might be a real solution to this crisis. Yet we must be very clear-eyed and ensure it is not a stalling tactic.
A so-called off-the-cuff remark by Secretary of State John Kerry Monday could have opened up a way to avoid direct military conflict with Syria.
He could turn over every single bit of his chemical weapons to the international community in the next week.
Initially, the State Department tried walking back that statement. That is, until Russia decided to take Kerry up on the offer and reached out to Syria, whose prime minister tells Syrian state television they will agree to a plan to turn over chemical weapons to international inspectors if it avoids a U.S. strike.
We will be ready to improve it and work out in detail with participation of the UN Secretary General, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, and members of the UN Security Council.
Meanwhile, President Obama says he welcomes any effort to resolve the matter without conflict, claiming his real goal is eliminating the possible use of chemical weapons going forward.
I think we should explore and exhaust all avenues of diplomatic resolution of this, but I think it's important for us to keep the pressure on.
In keeping the pressure on the Assad regime, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney said Tuesday the president will still make his case for military intervention. Before speaking to the nation tonight, President Obama will meet with senators from both parties on Capitol Hill, where the idea of a limited strike has been met with overwhelming opposition. In Washington, Steve Santani, Fox News.
Well, thanks, Steve. I mean, that's a pretty well-rounded discussion of the entire event. Now, Russia has made a heck of a play here. Look, a lot of us said, why doesn't Russia step up? So Russia has stepped up, but Russia has stepped up for its own purposes, as it always does. Has anybody figured out that if the chemical weapons are stored or put away, or we have a yard sale for them, the only way that we can make that thing work and organize it is if the Assad regime stays in place. If the Assad regime stays in place and we all support that, guess who freaks out? The rebels. The rebels are having a conniption at this point. Now, it's hard to get down the roster exactly who make up the rebels, but we know there's at least a little tiny portion, maybe as many as 20%, who are al-Qaeda, so they're not our friend. But the rebels are saying, hey, we're in the middle of a civil war here. We've lost 100,000 lives, and now you guys are making a deal with the guy that you say launched the weapons, and now he's sitting pretty because the only way he can make the deal for the weapons to go away is to stay in power. Crazy, man. Now, the Oval Office address. I'm trying to figure out why the president doesn't just say, never mind. Remember, what was it Emily Latilla, the old Saturday Night Live bit? Never mind. I think I got that right. You'll let me know on your State of Mind. But what's he going to say? Look, he was on the brink of losing a congressional vote with an imminent threat matter. Now that we've got the chemical weapons strategy to remove, I don't know how he gets Congress to say, yeah, you can missile attack if you need to. I know it's nice to have a little stick in your hand while you're trying to make somebody do something, but the bottom line here is if this president couldn't get the vote when we didn't have this chemical weapons displacement deal on the table, how in heaven's name is he going to get the vote with the displacement deal? I'm completely perplexed. You know, Mr. President, sometimes you just have to say, go back to regularly scheduled programming. I have a work in progress. I don't know what he's going to do tonight, but, you know, we'll watch it on sister station Channel 12 and CBS and whatever. On the home front, we've got some progress here. We've got a 6-5 vote from the State Board of Education, newly formulated. Don't get me started on how dumb this combined college and K-12 board is by structure. But they made a very careful vote, tight vote, 6-5, to keep the kneecap tests in place. And all I can say is this, look, there are options if your kid can't get at least partially proficient in the kneecap in order to graduate to make the requirement for 2014. They've got a chance to take it again, and then they've got options to do some other things, and if your kid is disabled, you can get a waiver. But my message to the young kids that have really formed the organization to make hay over this, hooking up with the ACLU, is spend a little less time protesting this, a little bit more time studying. I don't want to be crass, but kids, I love you, but shut up and study. And for those of you who want to see our financial livelihood remain intact, please, there are 14 more tables opening up at Twin River. More blackjack, I don't know, maybe Caribbean stud poker. That's my game, by the way. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's fun. There's the headline, Twin River gets okay for more table games, and all I have to say is this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're inclined to gamble, please do. Hurry, because the Massachusetts competition is beating down on us like a freight train. And this third largest source of revenue to the state of Rhode Island is going to slide away in just a short period of time. When we come back, he's the only guy that said no to 38 studios. Lots of stuff happening with that. We'll be right back with Carl Waddenston. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to State of Mind. He's the only guy that said no to the 38 Studios deal back when it was on his table in 2010 under the Concheri administration at the Economic Development Corporation. He is, actually, he's a very credible, thoughtful guy. What this is, what?
This is for your show. I didn't know if this was a boxing match, if this was WWF, or if this was Mad Money. The Mad Money guy, Maury Povich. Jerry Springer.
This is a better forum for you.
Dan Yorke.
Carl has been coming into the radio studio from time to time with all these props, only to be frustrated that no one could see them. Now you can see them. Any chance that you could just, get straight with me here and comport yourself like the high-level thinker that you are?
Sure.
I would appreciate it if you did that. I like to scold. In all seriousness, 38 Studios is the subject of a House Oversight hearing tomorrow, which is a complete, unadulterated boondoggle, a paperwork shake and bake that has nothing to do with what they really ought to be doing, which is asking the hard questions to the folks who brought us that, in part, very, 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 very backroom deal. But here's Susan's report on the last court progress in front of Judge Silverstein, which brings you up to date, and we'll ask Carl about that and a whole lot more.
In a 98-page ruling, a Superior Court judge ruled Rhode Island can move forward with most of its lawsuit against Curt Schilling and others involved in the failed 38 Studios deal. Attorneys submitted more than 1,500 pages of documents and argued for 2 days in a Providence courtroom. Ultimately, the judge dismissed small portions of the lawsuit, but said the state can sue to recoup money to cover the $75 million loan taxpayers guaranteed for the video game company. Governor Lincoln Chafee released a brief statement saying, "I am gratified by the court's initial ruling in the 38 Studios case. It allows the important claims to proceed and is a significant first step to recovering the taxpayers' losses." On the other side, Curt Schilling's attorney Sarah Concannon told Eyewitness News she's disappointed by the court's ruling. She calls the claims against Schilling meritless and said she and her client will continue to fight the lawsuit. 38 Studios filed for bankruptcy in June of 2012.
Just trying this on, see if it's hard to get your hands in there.
Yeah.
Set the ground rules for me. How much can you talk about in terms of that lawsuit itself as a member of the board?
Nothing, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for coming. Appreciate that.
No,
and
no, you
we
have
got a lot of time for your state of mind. Let's get to the emails.
No, and you know, you have one of the best attorneys in this kind of a case, Max Wistow, on the case. And there's so many open-ended questions to everybody that I don't even know the full scope of a lot of the things that are going on in the courtroom.
Right.
I can speak from my personal opinion and my thoughts back in July 26, 2010.
Right. Let's do that.
And,
let's go back.
You know,
just to remind everybody, at least for this particular forum, on radio we've talked about this with Carl extensively, but for those of you who are seeing him for the first time, go back to the original process and the vote by the Economic Development Corporation Board to fund Curt Schilling's $75 million project. You voted no. Why?
I voted no. Why, Dan? I thought of it as the aspect. I was on that board. I was asked by Don Kachiri to be on the board for my frame of reference, my knowledge, my skill level. And I looked at it as a decision. If I had the $75 million personally, would I give this gentleman and his organization $75 million? And
your gut said?
My gut said no. My gut said no.
Was it hard to vote no?
It was so hard that day, and I remember that day just like, you know, certain points of time. You're a good historian. You remember dates, critical dates. I'll remember July 26, 2010 like it was yesterday, because I respected the hell out of, and I still do, Don Kachiri, the fellow board members, and everybody at EDC. And when it came time to vote, and they said, all those in favor say yes, and the hands went up. All those not in favor, it felt like my arm was lead. And looking around, you know, just taking pause, it seemed like that vote to raise my hand took an enormous amount of time, just even to get my hand up.
Now that you look back on it, are you relieved?
Well, I'm sad because I'm a Rhode Islander. I'm a business owner in the state. I'm a citizen of the state. I have kids in the state. I have friends. So it's a big liability that we have. So I'm sad. I wish it had panned out. It could have been a great home run.
Well, you know what? And Carl has been consistent about that. To your credit, you're a true athlete and team player, because although you voted no,
I was willing to help and do whatever it took to make that thing fly.
There's no doubt. You have not been a guy from the sidelines throwing balls, lob balls at the entire project.
As a president and a leader in a company, when I make a decision, I hope that everybody's on board and help support that. And then as the leader, you have to take the critical point, guys, I made the wrong decision, we're making a turn.
And by the way, not to do a commercial for Carl, but you can stop by his Vibco offices in Wyoming, which is actually in Rhode Island. That's southern Rhode Island, for those of you scoring at home. And learn about his lean practices philosophy that he's borrowed and adapted, and you'll learn about some leadership. There's really good opportunities down there, and that's part of the reason why you've been on this EDC board. Yeah. But at the bottom line here, I wish there was just one bottom line. We've got a court case that's going on that you can't say much about, which the Chafee administration initiated, actually against its own employees, and Judge Silverstein suggested that actually it might be viable, gave the EDC standing to sue Curt Schilling and some of its own former employees, but said you can't collect any money unless you've already doled it out. So we've only doled out in budget-wise $2.5 million against the bondholders' expected receivable. But eventually, we're going to have $12 million in the budget every single year to make good on that. The taxpayers do, to make good on this default. You want to see us pay that or not?
Well, I'm going to speak from my own personal opinion, Dan, because I'm not the leader of our state, our governor, Link Chafee. I'm not the people that make the decisions. But in my business, if you make a promise to somebody, you sign something with somebody, you do something with somebody, no matter how bad it hurts, you got to follow through. You got to follow through.
So you're suggesting there's
integrity. It's about integrity.
You're suggesting there's a promise to the bondholders.
There's a promise to the bondholders.
A moral obligation, as the legal term for this funding is called. You think that is a handshake past technical terms.
Yes. And I think that it goes for the integrity of the state. It goes for integrity of our leadership up at the state.
Well, then how are we going
And there are so many things in the future that might bode ill on us if we're going to start saying, well, we're going to change our mind. Just think about the DMV article. I'll keep that off the table, but some of the things that happened in Sunday's paper. And I'm glad they took the track they did.
We talked about that yesterday. But when we come back, we'll try to figure out, if we just keep paying the bondholders, how in heaven's name are we going to get to the truth about what happened and how we all got duped? Stay with us. On the 38 Studios, follow-up, Carl Waddenston, the only board member to vote against this debacle and still on the board. Listen, bottom line, people want to know what the heck happened. The General Assembly made a blind vote for a $125 million loan guarantee, $75 million of which was targeted for Curt Schilling. And while they didn't know what they were voting for, a few people did, like the Speaker of the House, the Finance Chairman, maybe the Senate President. Are you as offended as a citizen, as most citizens are, about the idea that our House of Representatives and the Senate voted for something that they knew not what they were voting for?
Well, do we have all the facts on that? And I'm not going to stick up for them. But this
well, you know that there was no specific deal on the table, and you know that every state representative who was looking for re-election was complaining at the front door of their citizens, of their constituents, you know, locales. You knock on the door. What about 30 studios? Well, I didn't know what I voted for, so it's not my fault. I mean, that's established. It's established that they did not know what they were voting for. You're not disputing that, are you?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what are you doing? Are you avoiding my question? Because I'm asking you, are you as offended as every other citizen is that they pulled this stunt? Your vote is your vote. You did it on the specs.
I did it on the specs, exactly.
So you're clean. You're clear.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you to offer an opinion as to whether or not we need hearings, we need to subpoena these guys, we need to know exactly what in the heck they were doing, what they were thinking, and who was making profit, because it's all about money.
At the end of the day, I'm sure it is, Dan. You know, I'm sure it is. You talk about people making a vote. Remember, we sat in that boardroom, and we were fighting for $50 million. We were fighting for $50 million. All of a sudden, 75 gets rolled.
When you were in the boardroom, you were told the General Assembly is with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The General Assembly hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
Doesn't that offend you?
Of course it does. Of course it does. I'll roll back on that one. Of course it does.
State Police, FBI, I hope they're still looking at it. Have you heard from them at all?
I don't know how much I can say or do, but I'm sure that all the people with Max at the helm of this thing, he's driving it hard.
Well, that's a different civil litigation.
It's a different thing. And our governor's driving it hard, too. Link Chafee's driving it hard, too.
Yeah, well, we can examine all the reasons for that in another show.
Yeah.
Bottom line, House oversight, going through paperwork, boondoggle or constructive exercise?
I don't know if they know what they're really looking for. I don't know if they really know what they're looking for, because it's such a tangled
maybe they're
web.
Just going through an exercise.
It could be an exercise in futility and just to cover the bases.
All right. So what's your paperwork here? What are you trying to show everybody?
What do I need to, where do I shine it? What do I need to know, and who the heck do I need to share it with? Basic premise here in the state.
What's the context for that?
This?
Yeah.
What do I need to know?
Yeah. You always walk around with signs. What is the
I
context
walk around
for
with
this?
signs. The signs with this is just on any decision that's made in the state here.
Right.
It doesn't seem like everybody's in the know. When things go bad, everybody throws up their hands. I didn't know.
Right.
Well, why didn't you know? You voted on something, or you lobbied for something, or we passed, we did something. Everybody doesn't know when it goes bad. When it goes good, everybody's clamoring to say, I did that. I did that.
Right.
That's my sign.
Thanks for coming.
That's my sign.
He's got an interesting state of mind, but he's done the right thing. What's your state of mind? Next. So our final segment of the broadcast most nights will be to check in with your state of mind, where we pick some of your voicemail messages and email messages and tweets and posts on Facebook and all of that. By the way, appreciate the feedback in general from our inaugural broadcast last night. And so naturally, on the first night, we get some reviews. Here was one on the voicemail.
Hi, Dan. I happened to accidentally tune into your program. I usually listen to or watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy on Channel 12, but they had a tennis match going on, so I flipped around the TV channels and I came upon your show, and I enjoyed the interviews that you had with the bishop very much, and I hope you have good luck with your program.
That's so nice. Thank you, dear. And you know what? You can always send a nice compliment to Your State of Mind, but my guess is as we go and as we dig into one issue after the next, you're going to have some things maybe not so nice to say. Feel free to say what you have to say, and we'll pick that up off the voicemail. I'll tell you how you can call us in just a second. Then, of course, you can email us. And I got a big kick out of this email. Jan sent me this and said, I'm a longtime listener. Of course, that's to my radio program, noon to 3 on WPRO, and look forward to your new show. I was not disappointed. In fact, a big thanks. It's so refreshing to see and hear a member of the media not be a Catholic basher. Of course, we were talking to the bishop. Looking forward to next week's program. Jan, we're here weeknights, so we're here every night. It's funny how you pick up the details and lose the details, and being on your side of the TV, we're always trying to get it right for you. I'm honored by your kind words, and just want to remind you that you've got a staple choice right here, 7:30 each night on myRITV, Monday through Friday. You can contact us on Your State of Mind simply by telephoning us. 228-1886 and leave your message. It may end up right here on the air. The email is stateofmind@myritv.com. And of course, we'll pick up your tweets and your Facebook posts as well. Tomorrow night, we will break down the Oval Office address by President Obama. We have an expert from Brown University on Syrian affairs who will kind of walk us through that. It's important. I'm not exactly sure why he's having that Oval Office address, as I said at the top, but we'll figure out what the president is trying to get us to authorize, and we'll cover it 7:30 tomorrow night. I'm Dan Yorke. Thanks for joining My State of Mind. Good night.